Black Start Net Network is here.
Hold no punches.
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Pull up a chair. Take your
Hey, folks, today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Students at Bethune Cookman stage a sit-in in Whitehall, where the president's office is. We'll have several of those students on the show to talk about the continuing demands for answers from administration. Also, an update on the case of fired Texas Southern University Police Chief Mary Young regarding her temporary restraining order against the university. Ben Crump joins Florida lawmaker over his opposition to, and we'll talk to one of the members of the Florida Legislature on today's show. That and other news. It's a jam-packed show, folks. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on Go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
All right, folks, last night, students at Bethune Cookman took over Whitehall, where the president's office and the chapel is, saying they're not going to leave until they get more answers from the administration regarding conditions at the campus. All of this, of course, started with Ed Reed, who was agreed to a deal to bring him on as a head coach. He complained about conditions there. They chose not to hire him. Students have been complaining ever since. They've been demanding answers. And so joining us right now are several of those students who they live streamed the event last night. They are Dalen Sims, a former Mr. Sophomore, Maya Walker, Miss Maroon, Galen Nelson, Fred Hughes Jr., and Tyra Dunaway. Glad to have you on the show. So walk us through what happened. Why did y'all decide to stage this sit-in and take over Whitehall?
We decided to stay in because, as you said, we wanted answers, and we weren't getting them. Students have been complaining about the mold in the rooms, complaining about new leadership, lack of professionalism with the administration. So with us being in Whitehall, it was the location of the administration's office in that time.
How long, I saw the live stream last night. How long were y'all there? Were y'all eventually removed or escorted out of the building by campus security?
We were there for 12 hours. We decided to leave peacefully after they called the police.
So they called campus police or the city police against you?
They called the Daytona Beach Police Department. 2 officers showed up, and they decided that we weren't peacefully protesting anymore.
And so y'all decided to leave. What happened after that, or what's the next step? What do y'all have planned next?
After we left last night at 12, we decided that we would have a protest at the city. It took place today at 1 p.m. where we decided to White House in order to let the city know that we need help. We're asking legislation help outside of our
we were breaking up there, so if you can repeat what you just said, I just want to make sure our people are able to hear what you just said.
We decided to march from Whitehall to City Hall today at 1 p.m. Over a dozen students gathered together as we stood, marched, chanted to City Hall, where we decided to take our problems to our community. We feel like we are not being heard here at our university, and being that we are a private institution, we need help from the outside. We need those city officials, these state legislators to enforce regulations here at our university.
And so when you say enforce regulations, you mean the health code?
Yes, sir.
We have President, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
The health code, better business practice, professionalism, we need real business. And fortunately, our administrators have not been doing that.
Now, I know President Drake sent a campus-wide letter out the other day, but has there been a call for a campus-wide meeting between the administration and students to be able to ask him questions or ask administrators questions that's on your minds?
So no, we have not addressed as a student body. That's why we were at Whitehall last night to demand him to come and speak with us. And he did not come. He just sent a letter out that was basically, not relevant, like not concerning us. Like, we want to hear you. We want to see you. We have not saw this man at all. Yes, we are just so confused on how you address the world, but not your own students. We have not seen this man. I have not seen him since I won Miss Maroon, and he got this close. I haven't seen him since then. I have seen him walk.
Hi. None of our demands have been met. There are no answers for our questions. We will not stop until change happens. We will not stand down.
I had on your student government president, vice president, Mr. Bethune Cookman. The SGA president said that he has not met face-to-face with the university president, Dr. Drake, since August.
Yes, sir, correct. With me being on board court, I'm the former sophomore for this year, and we haven't had a meeting with Dr. Drake at all. We have been emailing him, talking to his representatives, still haven't had any notice from him yet.
One of the things that Dr. Drake extended the invitation for me to come to the campus, I accepted. I said that I wanted to do a town hall on the campus next week with students, faculty, and staff. And they have not accepted our invitation as of yet. I certainly hope that happens. Are y'all seeing an increase in students joining you? Because you had the protests that took place just the other day. And so, do you anticipate seeing more and more students make it clear that they want to get answers from leadership? Because as we all know, maximum pressure is typically what causes people to make change.
As a result of our protest from the last 72 hours, the support has poured over from students to administrators to community members to all HBCUs. This is not just an issue that we at this private institution is encountering. This is way bigger than Reed. This is a problem that we all must come together and target. We have to fix these issues. We have to be heard.
What are your parents saying? Are you getting support for them as well? Because again, y'all are paying tuition. That's financial aid. That's money that's going to the institution. And so what are your parents saying?
Our parents are overly happy. Alumni, they are reaching out to us. They are proud of us. Alumni are calling us crying because we're not stopping. Like, this is something that, you just don't jump in. We're 10 toes down. Like, we want change, and we want it now, and we're not going to stop.
Well, look, what I've made perfectly clear is that when we cover what happened at Florida A&M, we cover what happened at other institutions. I do fundamentally believe in transparency. I do believe there should be open lines of communication between students, faculty, staff, parents, alumni, and administration, and the Board of Trustees. I can tell you that we reached out today to Board Chair Balvin Perry. Did not talk. He hung up on my producer. Did not want to talk at all. I'm going to call him myself tomorrow. Let's see if he hangs up on me. I've already made the commitment that whether we do a town hall on the campus, if they don't get back to us, we will do one next Friday there in Daytona Beach. And so we certainly want to invite all students in the community out because the reality is Bethune Cookman also has a significant impact financially on the community in terms of what happens there. And so folks do deserve answers. And so hopefully we'll see things improve for you and the others. I appreciate y'all coming on the show and look forward to seeing what happens next.
Thank you.
All right, thanks a bunch. All right, folks, coming up next, I'm going to talk to journalist Michael Harriet. He wrote about the issues of Bethune Cookman 4 years ago for The Root. And so what you're seeing now is nothing new. We'll discuss this more on Roland Martin Unfiltered right here on the Black Star Network. We'll be back in a moment.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol, we've seen
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Next, A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, a relationship that we have to have. We're often afraid of it and don't like to talk about it. That's right, we're talking about our relationship with money. And here's the thing, our relationship with money oftentimes determines whether we have it or not.
The truth is you cannot change what you will not acknowledge.
Balancing your relationship with your pocketbook. That's next on A Balanced Life with me, Dr. Jackie, here at Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm BB Winans.
Hey, I'm Donnie Simpson.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, the issues at Bethune Cookman are not new. They're long-standing. Michael Harriot, when he worked for The Root, wrote about this 4 years ago. He joins us right now working for the Grill. Michael, glad to have you on the show. You heard what those students there just said. We had football players on the show a couple of days ago with alumni on the show as well. President Drake talked about how, they've only had 8 presidents in the university's history, but they had 4 in the last 10 years. And so when you look at what's going on, they say, hey, we had 2 hurricanes that hit, severely damaged the campus. But folks then say, yeah, but there were problems beforehand as well. And so, this is the culmination of problem after problem. And there are people who are saying, hey, man, I have people like, man, why you dogging Bethune Cookman? Somebody said, you trying to destroy Bethune Cookman. I'm going, listen to the students. They're the ones talking about what they have to endure every day on campus.
Yeah, so there's a combination of things. As recently as 2019, Bethune-Cookman was on the precipice of losing its accreditation because of a number of problems, from corruption to 30-member board of trustees that, the sanctioning body said, it was too large. There was mishandling of funds. There was a dorm that was supposed to cost $72 million that ended up costing $306 million. So they've literally had every fight and institutional problem that you can imagine at any school. So I think it is important to recognize that we, as Black people who support these institutions, we have to hold these institutions accountable if we're going to send our kids there, right? We have to hold them to the same standards that we would hold any institution to, while recognizing the unique difficulty that HBCUs face. I think you can do both.
It's interesting you make that point, because I've had some people, I always love this part when they try to pull out the card, you didn't go to a HBCU, but you could have. I'm like, that ain't got a damn thing to do with this, because as a journalist, I can cover the issues. When we cover the University of Missouri protests, we cover stuff at Penn State and other places. This is what we do. The bottom line is you have people who are saying there's a problem. Ed Reed going live started this. He lit the match. And I said, you can be angry at Ed Reed for going public. You can be mad and talk about his tone and say he shouldn't be there. But the reality is what he did has empowered students and others to use their voice to say, hey, he wasn't lying.
Yeah, I think that is important to note. I think it's also important to note that Ed Reed made people pay attention, but it wasn't as if the students weren't saying these things before Ed Reed got there, And so I think that there is the gap between those two things, right? So what Ed Reed was saying was something that happens, was complaining about, was something that's endemic at small institutions. It's not unique to the HBC. I think it's important for us to make that point. These students have been saying it for a long time. Now, we can credit Ed Reed for bringing attention and a spotlight to this, right? But, and here's the big point, the fact that Ed Reed did this was not something that Ed Reed was doing specifically for these students. We have to admit that Ed Reed was doing this in part because of something that happened to Ed Reed. Ed Reed wasn't there 2 weeks before he got hired there, right? So this was something Ed Reed did for Ed Reed.
No, actually, Michael, I got to disagree with that, because if Ed Reed was there recruiting players and already had players, he was also doing it for his players who are also students. So I get your point, but granted, I get doing it just for him, but when I listen to
not just.
Huh?
Not just, but I said not just. I don't think that Ed Reed was doing it only for Ed Reed. I really, truly believe that they're doing it for the players, for the students. But my point is that Ed Reed he came to this school as, some say a savior, some say it was just a job, but whatever the case may be, I think that these issues that Ed Reed highlighted, real issues, existed before Ed Reed, and what he did, first of all, that we have to admit that, he, as professional, and for all the dysfunction that we attribute to Bethune Cookman, we also have to attribute to the way Ed Reed handled this situation.
Of course.
There is no sides. I think that both sides have to take responsibility, and I don't think that either one is the villain and neither is actually a hero.
Well, I'll say this here. If you want to talk about heroes and villains, this for me is very basic, and that is, if you are responsible for students, faculty, and staff, and you are not servicing their needs, you are the villain, because that's your job. And and part of the deal that we keep seeing here is that you've written about it, other folks have written about it, also the board. The reality is, look, we've tried to reach out to all board members. It's damn near impossible to find out even who they, first of all, we got names, but how to even contact them. When you have individuals on that campus who say, we've never met the president, we've never seen them, when they say, we've never seen these board members, and because it's private, they frankly can't be removed other than resigning unless there's external pressure brought to bear and they still have to resign. At some point, they have to also accept a level of accountability, because if you are a member of the Board of Trustees, you are supposed to be there to serve at the pleasure or service the needs of faculty, staff, students, and alumni. And if you're hearing folks who say they aren't, that's a problem. And when the president says alumni giving went from 12% to a decade ago to 1%, that damn sure is a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, this is something we find at a lot of small schools and specifically at HBCUs. Morehouse had the same problem. What happened at Morehouse when its entire board was dismantled was the same kind of good old boy buddy system that we saw at Bethune Cookman, that we saw at Hampton, that we saw at Howard. It's endemic in small colleges, HBCUs. Look, I went to Auburn, a huge school, and I don't know the board of trustees, and we did the same thing. We made this kind of hires. I think it's important that this dysfunction isn't particularly happening at HBCUs. We just hired what could only be described, Booger McFarland would only describe it as a pervert at Auburn University, who is the head coach of the football team. And so this kind of stuff happens all the time. In this situation, what we saw is rampant unprofessionalism on both sides.
Well, I think what's jumping out here, and again, this for me, this is real basic. And again, as somebody who's run numerous black institutions in terms of the media side, folk don't want to hear, oh, woe is me. What they want to know is, are you going to fix the problem? And when students are talking about, hey, we've got mold, are you going to clean up the mold? Are you going to have functioning dorms? Are you going to pick up the trash? Are you going to have tight security? I mean, all of those different things. And so to me, what the administration has to do, they've got to come out and speak to their constituents, not just in a letter. President Drake needs to, and when he said, well, I should address them, not the board. Well, first of all, if the board is the one that's approving capital expenditures or approving funding, they should be there as well. But that's who your constituents are. You are to talk with them, and I don't understand why is that hard. And guess what? If they get in your ass and yelling and shouting, it's gonna happen. But you know the best way to stop criticism? Fix the damn problem.
Exactly right. And then all of this is exacerbated by the fact that we have a particular connection to institutions. It's not like, so some of the schools where you can send your kids there and you're connected from the administration. We should hold them responsible, because a lot of the reason that our kids and the stakeholders at these institutions are at these institutions is because of our love for them, is because of our support for them. So you're right about that, right? Like we have to administrations responsible. And I think that is the bottom line to all of this. And that's what I think Ed Reed was doing in his own particular way, right? And I think, one of the faults that we have to acknowledge also is that how if the university was displeased with what Ed Reed said on Instagram, why didn't they know who they were hiring? If they could not ratify his contract, why weren't they to interview him in a group setting? There are entire boards and groups who interview school coaches of people with high positions at universities, and that should have been what happened at Bethune-Cookman, because you can't say we have the unilateral power to fire somebody, but dismiss yourself from the hiring process, from disconnect yourself from responsibility of everything that happened up until that point, and say, well, that's Ed Reed fault.
Absolutely. Michael, hold tight 1 second. Got to go to a break. We come back. I'm going to continue more of this. I also share with you a statement that the board president gave to us where he lied. And I'm going to explain why he lied. Plus, I'll bring my panel up. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Download our app, Black Star Network, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. We'll be right back.
Most people think that these television shows that tell stories about who we are as black men, and then they paint these monolithic portraits of us. They think that they're being painted by white people. And I gotta tell you, there are a whole bunch of black folk that are the creators, the head writers, the directors of all of these shows, and that are still painting us as monoliths. The people don't really want to have this conversation.
No, they don't.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. An hour of living history with Dr. Richard Mariba Kelsey, thinker, builder, author, and one of the most important and impactful elders in the African American community. He reflects on his full and rich life and shares his incomparable wisdom about our past, present, and future.
African genius is saying that my uncle was a genius, my brother was a genius, my neighbor was a genius. I think we ought to drill that in ourselves and move ahead rather than believing that I got it.
That's next on the Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hello, everyone. It's Kiara Sheard.
Hey, I'm Taj.
I'm Coco.
And I'm Lily. And we're SWV.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
All right, folks, my producer reached out to Bethune-Cookman board president, board chair, a retired Judge Belvin Perry Jr., and this is what he said before he hung up on her. He said, pull it up, please. He said, quote, "I will not come on with Roland Martin, who has been telling a one-sided story with students who have been put up to this by Charles W. Cherry II, a disbarred attorney, and Johnny McCray Jr., who was president of the old Alumni Association. I'm done. Goodbye." Board President Perry, you are lying. Let me be fundamentally clear. You are lying. You, as a retired judge, should know better. You can't say, I've been telling a one-sided story, when the first guest we had on the show on Monday was interim president Lawrence Drake. He literally was first. He was followed by Ed Reed, who told his story. He was followed by 3 football players. He was followed by McCray, who leads the Alumni Association that y'all dissolved. And yes, we had Cherry. We then followed that up on yesterday, talking with other alumni, as well as the student government president, the student government vice president, Miss Bethune-Cookman-elect Mr. Bethune-Cookman-elect. And then we had 5 students on today. We also have made calls to several board members, and none of y'all will answer your phones or come on the show. And so how can you say it's a one-sided story when you won't even come on? So first, you lied. And then if you say that, oh, here's the other thing you lied about. You said that these students were being put up by Cherry. Again, President Board Chair Perry, you are lying. I received emails, not from Cherry, not from McCray, but directly from the students. They emailed me saying, please, can we come on? So how can you say that they're putting the students up when the students are reaching out to me directly? When you have staff members of Bethune-Cookman who are reaching out to me directly? When you have alumni of Bethune-Cookman who are reaching out to me directly? When you have parents of Bethune-Cookman who are reaching out to me directly? What I need to understand, Board Chair Perry, how in the hell am I talking to more students, faculty, staff, and alumni of Bethune-Cookman than you are, and you are the board chair? So maybe instead of lashing out at black-owned media and hanging the phone up, why don't you, Board Chair Perry, have the courage and the guts to speak to your constituents and not hide behind your title? Because what I will not allow for you to do is besmirch my name or the integrity of this show. You cannot suggest, and you would know if you were a judge, and if somebody lied in your courtroom, you will either say overruled or sustained. And the fact of the matter is, you cannot say it's one-sided when your own president has come on this show. Your own president, Board Chair Perry, has invited me to come visit Bethune-Cookman again. And I will gladly travel to Daytona Beach with my cameras and see the campus for myself. The question is, are you going to allow him to accept or follow through on the invitation? Let me bring in my my panelists right here who join us right now. Michael Harriet is still with us. Robert Patillo, he is the host of People, Passion, Politics, News and Talk, 1380 WAOK in Atlanta. Rebecca Carruthers, Vice President with Fair Election Center. Joe Richardson, he is a civil rights attorney. And so again, they join us. I must say, Robert, again, we talk all the time about integrity, character, honor, credibility, and transparency. And for the board president, the board chair, to be completely dismissive of what all of these students are saying, and they literally, Robert, I can't tell you, the emails are pouring in from them. That's the kind of arrogance they are talking about.
Well, Roland, I wish this was new and I wish this was isolated. But as Michael said, this is endemic in small universities around the country, and this goes back decades. Every by the time I got expelled from college for something very similar back in 2004 when we were trying to organize campus workers against our then president at Clerk, Atlanta, Walter Broadnax, and they literally expelled me from school until Reverend Jackson stepped in to get me back in and help me graduate. This is something that happens, and now that we have social media, now that we have access to the internet, now that we have black media such as your show and the Black Star Network, we can bring these things to light. But this is nothing new. This is nothing different. And I'm glad that these students are standing up and fighting for the change that is necessary, because nothing will improve on campuses until the students push those issues going forward. You're not supposed to shut up and sit down and get in line. That's not what students are for. Students are meant to push the agenda and push for the social change that is necessary. You cannot train a generation of revolutionary leaders and then be surprised when they become revolutionary leaders on campus. I'll support the students and whatever they need. I will extend assistance. Feel free to reach out to me also. But we have to ensure that the students are getting what they pay for on campus and that they are given the resources needed to succeed. It's almost like that old parable of the black-owned restaurant. They're simply supposed to accept less because they're black-owned. You don't accept less than conditions or education at HBCU just because they are black-owned. That means you are trying to push for even more excellence, not for lower standards.
And here's the deal, Rebecca. The board president, board chair, he don't have to talk to me. But when you won't even talk to your own constituents, that's a problem.
In my personal and professional capacity, I partner and do a lot of work with HBCUs across the country. What was very concerning, even hearing it with Monday night's coverage, is the forced disbandment of the National Alumni Network. And yes, I heard that it was because of accreditation and making it a direct service organization. But that doesn't require disbanding the current structure. It just requires of transitioning and doing more hand-in-glove work with the university. And so the thing about HBCU culture is that alumni networks are paramount. Student engagement is also paramount. So to also hear from the students that they have never met with the president or they haven't met with the president since early August, definitely before the Hurricane Ian hit campus, that's also concerning because the thing that we know about SGAs, student government associations on HBCU campuses, is that they are considered an integral part of campus administration. So if a major part of your campus administrator isn't meeting with your chief administrator, with the campus president, there's something that's horribly going wrong at Bethune-Cookman.
Joe, Trustee John Crossman, we did talk to him, said he did not feel comfortable speaking individually for the, because again, he did not feel comfortable speaking individually for the board, that any communication should be coming from the chair. Well, first of all, you're not speaking for the board, you're speaking for yourself as a member of the Board of Trustees, but he's saying again that should not come on. Also, that was, let's see here. We have Delancey. Let me pull up here, because again, there are several people who we reached out to talk about this whole issue, because again, wanted to be able to have these conversations. Robert Delancey, who is a member of the Alumni Association, he also claimed, see, this is what I'm saying. Here you got Robert Delancey tells my producer, we are telling a one-sided story. So we said, come on the show. This is what he said. He was eager to come on the show, but then decided it wasn't in the best interest of the university. Now, how your ass gonna say we telling a one-sided story, but then giving you the opportunity to come on and give so-called the other side, then you cut and run saying, oh, it's not in the best interest of the university. That's a weak-ass response, Joe.
No doubt about it. If I was a parent of a child at Bethune-Cookman, here's where I would start. And it's not even that deep, to be honest with you. It's superficial. Celebrate my birthday tomorrow. Here's how I'm going to celebrate. I'm turning 26 in my mind. Here's how I'd celebrate. Let's fix the mold. That's my problem. My kid can't be safe on campus. Some of our children come from unsafe situations. They were supposed to go to college for things to get better, to get a sense for how things could actually be. Not to say that there aren't problems, kids, mental health and all these types of things. But listen, one of your problems on your college campus is not supposed to be your hat being molded. At the end of the day, we are out of, you said, the one brother said he wouldn't be comfortable getting on camera and having a discussion. We are beyond comfortable conversation territory. There are two things here that are important, a lot of things, but I'll focus on two. One is competence. The other one is transparency. If you are competent, I don't care how much money you gave at the beginning, I don't care who you know. If you are competent, you aren't competent, you don't know what you're doing. You have no business, or should I say, you ain't got no business, like my grandmother used to tell me, on the Board of Trustees or running the reins of power. And at the very least, whatever you do, okay, if I don't want to talk to Roland Martin, okay, Roland Martin, he's kind of tough, he didn't go to HBCU, this and that and the other, whatever else, I would be talking to my students.
Right.
He's not even doing that. There's no good reason.
Hey, Michael, check this out. Again, yeah. So Michael, check this out. Literally 8 minutes ago, this email arrived. Could you give me a call about the corruption of faculties taking money over the years at BCU? I was a football player there, and it is still going on. I have some mind-blowing stuff to tell you before you go there to that meeting, stuff you should know and questions you should ask. Did somebody put that person up to call? Got his name and his phone number.
Yeah, so this is what we see with reporting with me. When they say you're telling a one-sided story, like, are you supposed to find who didn't see the mold, or what's the story? Like, who said ain't no mold on campus? Like, what are you supposed to do to make two sides of a story even, right? Like the corruption on campus, the financial situation. We've all seen it.
It's real simple. It's real simple, Michael. If the students say we got homeless folks walking across the campus, okay, are they walking across? It's either yes or no. If Ed Reed said the gates were locked, the gates were broken, is the gate broken or is it not broken? It's only two damn answers. Let's see. Mold, not mold. Remember, the president said it was mildew, not mold.
Oh, better.
Well, it's a different kind of fungus that's growing on the campus. And so I don't know what you're supposed to do to present both sides of the story. Say, well, there's not mildew in every room. It's just some of the rooms. Crackheads walking across campus every minute. It's just sometimes all of the gates aren't broken, just the ones that